tapped his shoulders and said, "Oh, Kofi, I have waited for you for so long." Kofi felt the lifting in his spirit and began weeping. He knew he was finally free. He thanked Ama Akoto and took his leave. Once upon a time in Palkronu village, there lived a young boy called Kofi. Kofi is a very adorable boy, admired by everyone wherever he goes. He has an aura even at his young age, which keeps attracting people to him. Kofi lived with his parents who loved him so much and attended to his every need. He's a very neat and cheerful boy. Occasionally, Kofi visits his auntie in a different village for holidays and to help his auntie with a few chores. Because of how respectful he is, even his auntie always was good and kind to him. He is easily loved. Despite his neatness and cleanliness, he began developing very strong body odor while growing up. This caused people to begin to withdraw from him. His mother initially assumed Kofi wasn't bathing well. She was always on his neck to make sure he bathed at least 2 times a day. He ensured that he showered well, but the more he took his bath, the stronger the odor gets. This caused him to lose his job, as his fellow colleagues couldn't stand him anymore. The business started losing clients, and the boss had no option than to fire him. This worried Kofi a lot, and it began killing his self-confidence. He began keeping to himself. All those that once cheered him on began backing off and holding their noses each time he passes by. Mothers began warning their children to stay away from Kofi before they get infected. One day, his mother sent him to the market to get some foodstuffs. He overheard 2 women talking. "Cover your nose, he's coming," the first woman said. The second woman asked, "What is happening to Kofi? Could he be cursed?" Just when they realized Kofi had heard them, they kept quiet. Kofi wept bitterly while he returned back home, further making him dislike himself. His mother was almost unable to console him when he got back from the market. Early the following day, he took Kofi to the village healer for cure. On their arrival, they shared their predicament with the healer, and he gave them some herbs. They returned home and he began bathing with those herbs. All those leaves yielded no results for Kofi as the situation got worse. They also visited the village seer and other seers of other villages, but to no avail. They all couldn't see what was worrying him, not to talk of the solution to the predicament. Months passed and Kofi was stuck in his room. No seer, no healer was able to help Kofi. His mates began excelling and making it in life while he was stuck in his little hut because of the strong odor. Even his mother was sometimes unable to enter his hut to talk to him. No matter what he does, his situation remained the same. When it was time for him to get married, all the women of the village shunned away from him as they couldn't stand the odor. One day, a church group visited their village for evangelism. At the time, Kofi had gone out and was returning home when he met these evangelists. Immediately they saw him, they called him to pray for him. But it was revealed by one of them how he had that strong odor. What had happened was that years back he visited his auntie in another village. When he got there, he met a woman he knew, and the woman tapped on his shoulder saying, "Go and tell Ama Akoto that we waited for her and she didn't show up. That is her shame." But as playful as a young boy could be, Kofi forgot to visit Ama Akoto's house to deliver the piece of information. Unknown to Kofi, Ama Akoto is a witch who couldn't go for their witchcraft meeting the previous night. The tap on his shoulders had the meat from the previous meeting he was supposed to deliver to her as her share. But because he forgot to deliver it, the meat got rotten on his shoulders, and that's the reason for the strong body odor he had. This shook Kofi to the core, as he never expected that to be the reason for his predicaments. He asked for solution from the evangelist, and he said,
Go back to the village and look for Ama Akutu. Deliver the information you were giving to her.
Kofi nodded in approval. The evangelist continued,
She would also tap your shoulders and take the rotten meat back.
Kofi immediately rushed back to his house and narrated all that had happened to his mother and father. The next morning, he headed towards the village to look for Ama Akutu. When he got there, Ama Akutu had relocated from where she was, and no one knew her whereabouts. Kofi became broken and disappointed. He didn't know what to do or where to start. His auntie also was oblivious of Ama Akutu's new location. He kept asking in the village about her whereabouts. Sometimes, even the people of the village do not even want to spend a minute in Kofi's presence, as they couldn't stand the strong scent emanating from him. This didn't really bother him, as he has faced worse situations. He even was closer to getting his solution. After weeks in the village, he found out that Ama Akutu's children had taken her to their village to take care of her, as she was now old. He visited the village and finally found her. Ama Akutu couldn't recognize Kofi. Kofi told him who he was and gave him the message he had received years back. Immediately he finished talking, Ama Akutu tapped his shoulders and said,
"Oh, Kofi, I have waited for you for so long."
Kofi felt the lifting in his spirit and began weeping. He knew he was finally free. He thanked Ama Akutu and took his leave. He returned back to the village, and everyone was surprised at the transformation. It was as though the rotten meat had effect on his looks as well. This time round, he looked extra handsome. The ladies of the village began throwing themselves at him, but he ignored each of them. He relocated to a different village, worked harder, made money, and chose a bride from that village. This is how Kofi got the life he deserved. Moral lesson of the story is, do not take any situation lightly or for granted, as it will cost you your life. There are spiritual backing to every situation. Seek God, pray harder, and get godly people in your circle. It will save you a lot. Thank you. Kindly subscribe and don't forget to like our videos and comment. Thank you.